Welcome to Bennett's BikeSocial. We are in Modena, which is about 40 minutes north of Bologna. But more importantly, we are here to see Ducati's very exciting MotoE project. Now this is the new MotoE bike, which will be contested in MotoGP next year. Over 20 bikes on the grid, all identical, all now produced by Ducati. What a stunning bike. I mean, what was we really expecting from Ducati? They were never going to build an ugly bike, and this is definitely not it. It looks like a proper race bike, even though it's electric. But let me throw a few specs for you. So the frame is all the battery. That is the battery. The swinging arm bolts onto the back of the battery. There's a little bit of frame like a Panigale, and then the headstock goes through that. So essentially the big bulk where the battery is kept is the frame. That's part of the chassis. Swinging arm goes on the back, front end goes on the front, very much like a Panigale. The back end, all carbon fibre. This complete seat unit is carbon fibre. The battery itself is designed by Ducati. The motor underneath near the single rear shock, TTX shock, is all designed by Ducati. They've kind of called in a few friends, like spoke to Lamborghini and a few others, but it's all done by Ducati. There's 110 kilograms just for the battery unit alone. The whole bike is 225 kilograms, and in terms of power, we are at 140 newton meters of torque. Power is 110 kilowatts or 150 CV. In normal terms, that's about 150 brake horsepower. And we're told that little motor will rev to 18,000 RPM. So it's going to be impressive. What's interesting for me is that Ducati haven't gone for a massively powerful 200 brake horsepower performance. They've kind of gone a little bit old school. And by that, what I mean is they've reduced the weight because the laps, it's a 7-lap race, so we only need the bike to do 7 laps. So they've made the bike as light as possible. And at 224, 225 kilograms, that's not a million miles away. And that's obviously fully fueled. Few specs, we've got all-ins front forks, TTX all-ins on the rear, we've got Marchesini alloy wheels. They've not gone for carbon wheels. I don't know if that decision has been finally made. We've got M50 caliper brakes, not stylemas. We've not got electronic suspension. It's conventional suspension. It's designed to be a race bike. They've kind of thrown the budget at developing the motor, the battery, but they've not thrown the budget at the forks and the suspension. They could have gone crazy and put style MRRs and really gone crazy with the suspension. But you've got to remember that this is a race bike designed to be raced. Arguably they have done, because budget wasn't, there was no budget for developing the motor and the battery, but now that's developed, they can produce that for racing. But with the wheels, the forks and the suspension, you've got to remember this is a race bike. These are going to get crashed, they are going to be needed to be replaced. When the teams get these bikes, they can change them individually. There's going to be changeable traction control, changeable slide control, wheelie control, and engine brake assist. There's no cornering ABS or anything like that, because this is a race bike. The teams will then be able to choose different maps. So for example, if it's raining, they can reduce the torque and change the map again and increase it. At Mugello, it was doing 275 kilometers down the straight at Mugello. So it's not a slow bike. I've been bribing mechanics with wine, risotto, spaghetti, everything that they love, and nobody's told me any lap times yet. But they've told me it's going to be competitive. Now, if Ducati are making it, it's going to be quick. Is it going to be quicker than a Panigale SP2, for example? Probably, yeah. That's the impressive thing. When I speak to Pirro, he's impressed. He will be. He works for Ducati and is a Ducati test rider. However, you just get the impression by talking to the guys that I've known for years that this is something special. And hopefully they're going to let me ride it shortly. But overall, I mean, it is a stunning bike. It is going to be great to see these bikes on the grid. It's going to be an awesome bit of racing. But the really important bit is Ducati over the years have always filtered down their technology. And this goes back to 851, 999s, 1098s. Everything is filtered down. So like the bike that Foggy was riding, the technology came down. The bikes that are in MotoGP, that technology comes down. So the Panigale that we ride now is very similar electronics and rider aids to what were in MotoGP a few years ago. So we can assume that the technology and everything that this new team is learning will filter down to the end road user. Now, if you're against electric bikes and you're just a petrol head, a bit like myself, and you're probably up against it thinking, oh, not another electric bike. But if this bike is capable of lapping quicker than a Panigale around a track, if this bike is capable of getting within maybe 4 or 5 seconds of a world superbike, if this bike is going to be exciting, awesome racing, and if the road bike looks anything like it, then I'll be ticking the box for the electric box. This is the future, and it looks good.